evening, cartoonists and sequential artists alike. Welcome to another episode of I'd Rather Be Motivated with myself and David Fleming here to my left or right. I'm not sure. It's all a little bit backwards. It's hard for me to tell. But anyway, how's it going, David?
Man, it's going really well. It's been a good week of making and creating and arting and nerding for me.
Awesome. It sounds like everything good in the world. When you're not here on I'd Rather Be Drawing's YouTube channel, where can everybody find you and see what you're up to?
Yeah, Art of Mr. Fleming on Instagram and Mr. David Fleming everywhere else in the interworld.
Nice, weirdo. All right, and I'm Scott O Green, and Instagram I'm very active, and that's Mr. Green Draws, mr.green draws. And then on Facebook, you can find stuff for both of us at I'd Rather Be Drawing there as well. So between that's where you can find us. As well, we'd like to promote at the top of the show. If you'd be so kind and would like to sign up for our newsletter, we just send it out like once a month or so to keep folks posted on what we have available and what's going on. Thank you, Vanna. Point that out for us and everything. But yeah, down below we'll have a link to get you to our newsletter to be able to sign up for that and to push that and get that drive going so we can get some names on that list. And for our October newsletter, we're going to put all the names of anybody who's on that email list into a hat and send a free t-shirt out to them. You can pick whatever size and style and color of t-shirt that you want for I'd Rather Be Drawing, and we'll send you a free t-shirt. So if you'd be so kind to loan us that email address, we promise we won't spam or sell it out or anything crazy like that. Like I said, it's just for us independent artists to keep you posted on what we're up to. So moving right along. Happy Batman Day, everybody.
Well, happy belated Batman Day, right?
Yeah, every day should be kind of Batman Day. So I feel like if we're within a week of actual Batman Day, behind or forward, we can just call it.
Not according to the Google search. It is the third Saturday in September.
Oh, you are raining all over my parade. But did you have a good weekend, man?
Yeah, it was a very pleasant weekend of lots of fun new things for me. When it's time for me to share, I'll be ready to share.
For sure. For those of you that don't know, David got to go table at a fun 2-year anniversary / Batman Day event at a local comic book shop. And since we're kind of talking about highlighting that event, and also because of that, Batman is our influence and just topic of conversation, we figured that'd be the main discussion for tonight. But as you know, first and foremost, this is an art check. Where we just get together once a week to keep each other posted on what we've been up to and the progress we're making. So since David's is kind of the focal point of discussion tonight, I'm going to try to get my first couple parts of this out of the way. So we always do progress, problems, and plans. So for progress, writing my script has been a chore and an uphill battle for me a little bit. One thing that I noticed, a lot of parts are coming a lot clearer as the weather outside changes. So before, when it was summertime and I'm trying to write this Halloween thing and get into it, I don't know if that's like a big reason or just I've been plugging away at it for so long, just timing wise with the weather changing. It's just happening that, a lot of ideas are firing and a little bit quicker. But I just kind of noticed that tonight, that with all those kind of rainfall smells and the chill in the air and everything turning to pumpkins and cider and everything, I don't know. It might just be getting me in the mood a little bit better, but I've written several more pages, just kind of writing out ideas, like where a scene gets like much more specific in your mind, where you kind of know where it's going and everything, but then you start to really see the pictures. So I got more written in that. I've got a lot going on my note cards. Did more working on that at our Creators Club, which is a weekly comic book artists get together at the local comic shop, and it's our Artist Anonymous, where you complain about stuff and then get to work and share ideas. So got some more of those cards done tonight. And then yesterday, I went and got this printed, well, not printed, but cut and stapled at FedEx Kinko's, my local shop, where I kind of took about the page count of the book and did it to where, like, and I saw this on a Jim Rugg from Cartoonist Kayfabe, kind of put together his script this way to start thumbnailing. So this will be kind of my thumbnailing sketchbook. My story is going to be in a square format, so that's why this is in a square format. But what I'll do is when you open it up on, sorry, my camera's backwards, so it's always kind of weird. I'll first kind of like write out notes and the scene and all that, kind of like the sort of like the real script stuff, and then be able to thumbnail over here on this page. And then flip the page. So I won't like read exactly like the comic. I don't have to worry about going in and out of order or stuff like that. But just as I have the ideas and I kind of know beginning to end, I can just kind of begin to fill this, which this is kind of good for me because other than just having words written down in notebooks, I really need to start having something to hold to represent this comic. I think that just helps me feel better about making headway. I've been writing on it for a while and give and take, and things happen slower at times and quicker at other times, but yeah, I think stuff like this will help. Along with that same idea of needing to kind of have something physical to show, to kind of feel like the process is moving along. I talked about wanting to get a template page together to be able to scan in. So I've done. It's kind of hard to show up here. So I've done this. I got a page, traced the outside lines, the live area for the dialogue, and then just a whole bunch of lines for possible panel compositions. And that way I'll scan this in, probably term the blue line or something like that. But then after I thumbnail out a page and know exactly like how that page is going to go, you know, if it's going to be a 9-panel grid or 6-panel grid or 2 panels or whatever, I'm going to print out in blue line my panel grid. So that'll come out with that already on it. That way I don't have to get the page and kind of rule out those parts. That'll already be done. Print it in blue line so I can still kind of outline them by hand because I like that not ruled, but, you know, still by hand thing. But so I got that done. Probably check over a couple more things on that. I wanted to have all those like cool, perfect ratio circles and all that stuff, but all the things I found were for like a more standard comic book page and not really set up for a square page. So I need to see if that matters, if that's just a hang up, but that. And then got another episode of Read More Comics out last week, which I'm really enjoying how that's coming along.
If I can just interrupt you very rudely and say that I'm like loving how that's turning out.
Thanks, man. I really, really appreciate that. Put some thought into it and just trying to come up with a cool sort of rubric or whatnot so that I can just sort of fill in the middle part each week so it doesn't have to be like a brand new video, so to speak, each time. I still found things and things that you've recommended to be able to kind of improve on, which I'd like to do. But I basically pick 3 different comics, really try to pick out their stuff, and it's just what I'm coming across in my travels to the comic book shop and to conventions and speaking with artists, whether it's big 2 graphic novels or little tiny folding zines from artists at Van Calf and stuff like that. I'm just trying to show, because it's my belief that there's like a comic out there for everybody. Like your grandma, if you found the right thing, would think that it was really cool and would be interested in it. And so if I can help people find those things and get them interested in going to the local comic shops or supporting artists, it's really just a way for me to kind of share the things that I'm into. So thanks very much for the compliment, man. I appreciate that. And it's getting, I mean, it's you know, our stand, we have, you know, just over 100 followers here. And, you know, we get, you know, if we get 50, you know, watches and views and stuff on a video, we're like pretty stoked about that and everything. So obviously we're still kind of small potatoes, but it's kind of cool because I like being able to talk up other artists and other things that I think are cool and direct people to go like buy those things or support those things. And some of the artists that I've highlighted, actually like quite a fair amount of them have like responded back, because I tag people because it just makes sense that if I'm talking about this comic and I reference this artist, of course you tag them in it so that, you know, whoever is interested can find them quickly. But it also kind of lets them know that somebody out there is making something about them. But anyway, those folks have been kind of cool about giving me little shout outs here and there and watching the videos and making comments and saying thank you and directing me towards other books I might like and stuff like that. So as far as kind of creating a community too and stuff like that, and just more water cooler talk about books that might not be the norm. Yeah, little by little, it kind of seems to be working. So I'm pretty stoked about that. So I'll have another episode out this week. one of the books on it, since it is Batman week after whatever, David. I'm doing a reread of one that it's a somewhat recent one that I fell in love with, and it's in a part 2 right now. But I'm going back and reading the graphic novel hardcover of Batman White Knight by Sean Gordon Murphy, and realizing why I love it and why I've been telling you I love it so much, having forgotten some of the little things in it that are awesome. So that'll be on there. I think that's all my progress. I wrapped up my last commission. Had somebody else contact me about a paid commission thing that they're looking to get done. So I'm excited about that. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of blabbing along. I'm trying to kind of get through mine so we can get to the topic with David and everything. We usually kind of bounce back and forth and we talk about our progress, problems, and then plans. So problems, let's see here. My goals from last week were to cut all my pages. Well, I didn't cut all my pages, but I got that template done. And I'll probably wait to cut the pages until I print them as I do them.
So you did. You solved your problem of the like not getting started by like figuring out a formula for your pages though. So
yeah, I think that really helped. We talked about that, just needing something physical. So I think that's one of the biggest problems I've had that's been a thing. It's just this hurdle of wanting to be diving in and drawing this book, but trying to have discipline enough to like really have a good game plan together before I jump into, but then also being a very novice writer and not really scripted in great detail a bunch of stories before. So that's really just been the biggest problem. It's just wanting to get ahead on October, wishing I kind of had a product right now to sell and tell people about, but I just kind of have to be okay with the process, and I don't have that right now. So instead of regretting that and worrying about that, might as well just keep making it. And when it's ready, it'll be ready. But that's my week. Excuse me, in a nutshell, my progress and problems. And then as far as plans, we're going to wrap the show with that. But now I'd like to hear from you, David, on how everything went down, kind of week leading up to, how you got ready, and just anything about it.
Yeah, so it's Missouri, so the biggest problem that we ran into was weather, having to kind of keep an eye on everything. And before I actually jump in, since it was a big Scotathon there, let's just go ahead and say hi to everyone in the chat. What's up, Ace, Comic Den, Red Ronnie, and Matthew Enstrom? Thanks for coming in, guys, and hanging out for the night. It was a weather watch kind of situation. Lots of checking the weather all the way leading up to and all that kind of stuff, because it was going to be outside originally, but all the way up to the day before they were like, yeah, this isn't happening outside, we're going to put you all guys inside, because it was just at a little comic shop in a small town, so it was definitely at first it was oh shoot, I hope we all fit inside that place kind of thing,
Oh wow, so it was supposed to be outside?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a big tents up, take over the parking lot kind of event, and turned into a hangout in the comic shop for the day. I think it was awesome. It was tons of fun. It was definitely any more people and or artists, and it might have been too much, but it really just felt like the perfect size event in terms of just who showed up and who was there and how many tables were in there and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of cool. It would have been fun to have it outside though, I think, but I think they did a really good job of making the best of it. The Phoenix Comics is the name of the comic shop. They're awesome. They're super professional dudes who kind of know what they're doing. And so I never doubted that it wasn't going to be rad or anything like that. But there was definitely some moments of I guess we'll have to see how this one works itself out, But in the end, yeah, it was a super fun day. I spent the day drawing, which is cool because most convention stuff I do, I'm selling. This was more of sitting at my table and talking to the nerdy kids and adults and all in between as I to do stuff. I did a bunch of sketch cover work and stuff in between, and kind of I've never spent so much time of my convention drawing because normally I'm on my feet the whole time talking and stuff. And I actually say no to commissions a lot during conventions because it pulls me away. But the crowd was the crowd to sit there and watch me draw and all that kind of stuff. So it was a really fun time for me. And because I'm not great at those, I really feel I leveled up a bit and being able to whip out a cool little thing on the spot. I mean, even one of the commissions I did was it was a Batman who laughs, and the guy is doing this cool series where all the commissions he gets, he wants you to put the character on a throne, and so I did do Batman who laughs like sitting on the throne, and like as a sketch cover commission on the spot, that is not an easy composition to just be whipping up. So, but I'm actually really proud of that.
I'd love to whip that out for you.
Yeah, well, the good news was I wanted to too, because the guy I did it for was actually a guy who I bump into at a lot of different convention stuff around town. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, that sounds awesome. I got you. But it was a challenge for sure. I was a little bit like, oh shoot, man, I really hope I do. I hope I do a good job at this.
Yeah, but, man, I saw that one. That looked cool, and I also saw it looked like. I don't know if it was it looked like a jam piece where maybe like all the different artists did like one of their characters or something on one thing.
Yeah, it was for charity. It was like, it's called the Hero Initiative or something like that. Mm-hmm. So we all drew on a big poster board thing that I think it's going to go off, and a bunch of more artists are going to jam on it too. And then it's going to get auctioned off and like all the proceeds go to some kind of charity. I didn't get the full details on it because it was like at the end of the day and they were just like, Fleming, you didn't jam board yet. And I was like, what? I didn't what? They were like, huh? Get back here. And then I spent the last hour of the day like just peacefully drawing in their back thing. I was like, it was pretty cool though. It was cool because like this is just a little miniature geek out sesh for me. But like we talked about this, I think, on an episode a while ago, but kind of like just not feeling like not necessarily imposter syndrome, but sort of being like, how did I end up here? Mm-hmm. Like and it was like all of the other people who were invited as guests there, I have bought something that they have made from Image, from Dark Horse, from something else during like my beginnings of stuff and like just going to cons, and they were just like hanging out with me, chilling, laughing, and drawing and stuff, and drawing on the same jam piece as me. Like,
that's pretty cool, man. That's where I think your confidence, like the talent of confidence, can really help out. Because you and I, we can draw and everything, but when someone walks up to a table and they're like, "Hey, can you whip out this, complicated drawing on the cover of this comic book for me, real quick?" Where it's not like they walk away and you can start on and go, "Nope, that doesn't work," and throw it away and start again, or you have Kyle Strom come over and hand you a jam piece that he just drew on. A little bit of confidence, I think, goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's definitely a thing to talk about for sure. And like we get into a lot of detail about that. And how do you kind of keep yourself confident in certain things and stuff like that? But I was definitely never like, I had the feeling of like, how the heck did I get here? But at the same time, I was like, I'm here, so let's do this.
Yeah, for sure. At a certain point, you're like, well, you wear yourself on your sleeve, right? You are who you are. Your art's right here. You were invited there. I mean, it seems natural to kind of second guess sometimes. You go, oh man, is it going to work out? Is it going to be okay? But then it's like, wait a second. They chose me.
Right.
Must be doing something right.
Must be.
Don't
know what it is.
Hey, do you have a way to, and if not, it's okay, but show any of the pictures from your setup? Because I noticed that you had like a nice table, like, sort of filled.
Yeah, I do think, let's see. I can pull up my Instagram over on this other tab.
Instagram or Facebook. I saw some really cool pictures there, but.
Yeah, actually, that was the second part that I was going to talk about. So when I heard that it was going to be outside, I was like, oh shoot, I can't do the usual setup. Like, I normally hang my prints behind me and those like clear plastic things and like dangle it behind me as like my print menu, and then lay out all my originals flat on the table because I always like to make a bigger show of my originals. And I was like, dude, I can't hang a 8-foot tall banner thing behind me in the outside in Missouri. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of reformat all that too. And that was a big part of my lead up, as you said, sort of like getting myself ready for the week. I had to like tear apart my con box and be like, okay, what can I bring and what can I bring and how should I make this actually work for me, kind of thing. Ended up working out pretty well when I pull these up. I'm on my wife's computer. I'm not on my computer, so give me a second here. I might have to log in. But like getting myself ready for the week, it was like fun too, because I had to kind of figure out like, how am I going to display all of this and it still look good and cohesive? And we've had kind of the talks about this before, but like when we were early on in like the sort of how do I do my setup stuff, our first time we tabled, it was a mess. And if I can like segue this into kind of like how do you do a good con table, even price points, simple price points, and a speech that is not centered around your prices. Because it felt like on our first time we ever tabled, half of it was like, what about the stickers? Oh, those are $2, and those are $5, but those are $8. And it was just like so many different layers and levels of like, yeah, this price and that price and this price, and then all of a sudden you're just not even talking to the dude anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're not enjoying the time and talking to them just about, you know, your art and fun and all that kind of stuff. So I was trying to find a way to still feel like that on my table, and so what I ended up doing was I put one of each print, and I actually cut my print menu in half to mostly just my originals in a big folder, and then put my 5x7s and my 9x12s just in the flip book and just laid that across the whole table. So it was 3 flip books. And that way when people came over, I was like, hey, how's it going? Like, what's your poison? Do you like inks or do you like color? And then it was like, just look through this book. Don't even worry about the other books, like kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that way it wasn't like, it didn't feel overwhelming for people coming by my table to be like, man, what does this guy do? He feels like he does everything, and that kind of feeling. Because I know that feeling too as like a passerby of a table, and you're just like, so where do I start? And so that was good.
Yeah,
it worked
I
out.
definitely say simplifying is not a bad thing at all. Whether it's just consistent sizes, consistent prices, or whatever, or just like a theme to whatever you got. But yeah, and I feel like that's probably a thing that a lot of folks do when they first table, because I think when you first realize you have a table, you're like, wait, we got to fill what space with just my art? And so you start, well, I made this thing and I made this thing and I made that thing. Let's just bring it all, because you just want to fill this space to look like a competent person, you know. But then when you look at successful things, it's like all they have are 11x14 prints, and they have a line of people, or all they have are their comics and original pieces. I still like a smorgasbord. You can still get like a lot of different stuff, but you know, even if you bring a lot of stuff, you have to figure out a way to simplify it for passersby. Like you said, whether it's your speech, your price points, what you actually have. Yeah, that's for real.
Yeah, and like even if it's not even for the customer, like for anybody who might be thinking that we're doing this kind of thing who's listening, having simple price points and things that don't cost odd amounts, making change. Like, if you're gonna make something cost $4, just make it cost $5. Like, and then you don't have to worry about it. Like, then you can make change, and you're not like, you don't have tons of ones and that kind of stuff. I remember whenever I first kind of narrowed down and cut off a bunch of my other price point things, it was so much. It's just so much easier when your setup isn't your focus. Like, by simplifying, you can like spend more time just literally talking to and enjoying the con, and just like letting what it is exist, and then letting people come up to you, which is what happened. I had a blast. People come over. They would you could tell, you kind of tell from where they went. So I'll screen share this now. So here's let's see if I can zoom in on it a little bit. You can almost tell from when they came over. Oh, it's zooming on the wrong part. That's not going to work. My dual monitoring is kicking me in the butt here. I'll just do this.
We can kind of get an idea.
There's a zoom in of the shot there. But so what I did was I laid them out like, here's the 5x7 book. In the middle was my color book, and then here's my 9x12 book. And I do my usual. I do like left side. This is like another thing I do for organization. Left side are like my fan art pieces. Right side are all my original like robots and stuff, or anything I've done that isn't like, that's my own property kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice too, because a lot of people will flip through your book and be like, they can tell they recognize some, and sometimes when they see your own pieces, the look on their face is like, oh, this is cool, but I think I just don't get this reference. And so sometimes there has to be a little extra, like, no, you don't get the reference because like I made that up.
You're like, oh, you'll find that guy in my book. You know?
Exactly. It is a great segue for the like, oh, here's my comic. And then this print, I sold a few of these. It was really cool. It's probably much bigger on your guys' screen. We have a tiny little preview when we're doing this, but this was the print I did of the cover of them all, and I sold a few of those. I sold the original of that one, actually.
Oh, very cool, man.
And that was cool because the guy who bought it, like, he liked it for all the right reasons. I was telling my wife, I was like, sometimes people buy my robots and I'm like, cool, and you can tell they're into it, but they're not. It's like they were into the drawing and then they're not really into the series of it all. But like the guy bought the comic, he bought that too, and he was like, I just really love your characters have this like cool abstract quality that they're like human but not. And I was like, yes, please buy my piece. You get it.
Very cool, man. Yeah, so like along that, as far as like the nitty gritty of sales, what sold well besides that, and what didn't? Like, were you able to kind of sell a few comics?
I sold 2 comics.
Cool.
I do wish I sold more. What I actually had though, this comic shop is one of the ones that wholesale bought my comic, and it was on their shelves.
Ah.
So I actually had a lot of people coming back and being like, oh, you're that guy. I bought that comic already. And so they bought like an art piece or something because they wanted to like support it further because they'd already like, they're like, oh, these are all characters that might be, because I do a lot of concept things where I'll like just draw a robot and it might not exist as a character yet, but it might later. And so a lot of people love that. They're like, so you mean this is like be like the first like version of this character like before he showed up in the book? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. And so I sold a few random robot things because of that, because people were like, oh, that's awesome. Like, who's this character? And I was like, he might be this character, you know? And then they get stoked and they ask like questions about the book and stuff. So that was a cool thing. Having people like who bought the book, like want to talk about the book was like a really cool experience.
Well, it's cool to see more and more, I don't know, comic shops still do at times, I feel like, have stigmas of the Simpsons type character, you know, sitting behind the counter, being condescending about whatever it is you're purchasing, and talking about why the old school Superman is better than the new suit or whatever. But it just really does not seem to be the case anymore. And it's not just Big Two comics. It's not just, you know, the big 2.5 comics even. It, you know, comic shops are getting excited about supporting independent folks, and I think that's really cool. And even more than that, it's showing because like clientele are going there interested in what you have because it doesn't look like everything else on the shelf. And I don't know, I think there's a cool symbiotic thing going on with local comic shops and creators. And if you're a creator out there and you're not involved with some local shops and trying to get in touch with those people, I think that you're missing a good opportunity. Social media is a great thing, but actual social society is a good thing too. Humans talking to humans, I encourage it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and actually I had a couple of cool moments of people being like, I don't really read comics anymore. I come in here to hang out with these guys and I'll grab a random book or whatever, and like asking me for like my favorites. Like, what do you read? And I was like, actually, I don't, because I was, they stuck me next to the side of the wall that was like all of the big, like I was like Spider-Man comics and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, what would you recommend over here? And I was like, actually, that wall over there that says indie. But like,
that's what you want.
Yeah, but they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, because he was like, this guy was like, I used to read comics, like when like in the 90s, and so I was like, well, did you read Image when it was new? And he was like, yeah, I used to love Spawn and like named a bunch of those kind of titles and stuff. And I was like, well, did you know they still make rad stuff? Like, go check out that wall. And
actually gotten a lot better.
Yeah, like it's gotten, yeah. I could definitely make the argument that it's gotten better.
I think so.
So he was stoked about that, and he, I think he picked up. I think it's one that you said you were reading. Middle West.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and isn't that Scotty Young?
Yeah, Scotty Young's writing it, and then Jorge Corona. That might be from a different book. I forget. And
but
then,
yeah, he.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say that's such an awesome book. Yeah, Middle West, by those guys, and then also a band called Doom Punks, Doompunks, has like a song for not only that comic but like a few other Image books. Kind of a yeah, check it out. But anyway, go ahead.
But I was just saying that, like, yeah, he like brought it back to me and was like, I hadn't read it, but I remembered you bringing it up and was like, oh yeah, Scott. He's like, do you know anything about this one? And I was like, I don't know anything about it, but I know that pretty much anything Scotty Young touches is the bomb diggity.
Mm-hmm.
So he picked it up by my suggestion, even though I had actually never read it. So
very cool. I actually think I was thinking about that one. I think you just solidified it. I think I'm going to put that one on the show this week.
Oh yeah.
Such a good book. Color, the story of it, the imagination. You should especially check it out because a big idea behind it being, I mean, Scotty Young is from your neck of the woods there, and the name of it, Middle West, is obviously from the Midwest. But he takes that just like the title. You take Midwest, he says Middle West. It just adds a little bit of something different to it, and he just inserts a little bit of fantasy here and there. And so it's basically like the Midwest that you're familiar with, but it's if Oz was the Midwest. You know what I mean?
I do. But can I just like really quickly interrupt you and say that it was your neck of the woods too, buddy?
For sure. I just mean he's specifically like down, and that's why I think one of the reasons why I really dig it is because when you're from the Midwest and everyone thinks it's like a boring or flat place or this or that or has nothing to offer, but then you see a sunset over the trees and see that like brilliant pink sky. I mean, he really captures something where it's like a kid from the Midwest, their imagination just going wild. And it's really cool because of that. So
the Midwest definitely gets hardcore stereotypes.
Yeah. So yeah, he does some really cool stuff with it. He just go ahead and goes, "Yep, I'm going to use this for the setting of a fantasy story that you can't help but love."
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
It is really cool.
Well, I'm in then. Let's do this.
Yep. You're going to need to watch the episode this week. You had somebody in the comments see that you're working on Batman Beyond.
Oh, yes, Ace. What do you say? That would be his yeah. Yes. This was always like, it was that perfect time of my childhood to have like just binge watched nothing but this for many, many weeks of my life and then some. So
it's a good one. He asked me before the show, who's my favorite Batman? And I was like, Bruce Wayne. And he's like, well, it's not my favorite Batman.
I was asking because like we're doing this fun screen share thing, and like obviously I was like trying to find ways to like implant like rad stuff into this podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, look at that! Like, and then I was gonna pull up a cool picture of your favorite Batman.
Did you ever find my favorite Batman?
I forgot you told me it.
Yeah, you're a jerk. Dude, I actually went. So I said right now my favorite Batman is the Sean Gordon Murphy Batman, but I've been doing these. I've never really drawn a Batman before, and I think I'm going to with a fan art piece because with that series I was doing where I'm doing crossovers. So like character from Phone Bone is with the Gorillas, and Beetlejuice is hanging out with Hellboy. I think I want to do like an old school like Batman 66. Hanging out with the White Knight version of Batman.
Ooh,
I think those two are like kind of my favorite in a lot of ways. But
wait, I can use my own art as the example, right?
Nicely done. I love it, man. Self-promotion shamelessly as it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I sorry, it was the closest one I could click on. It was my search engine was going really slow.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure it's really hard to find Sean Gordon Murphy.
How do you spell that?
Whatever. Hey Red, nice to see you in the chat, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. And the Midwest is awesome. You're right. There is a lot of really cool stuff. He says we have a lot of caves. Yep, that's one of the coolest parts. In fact, I'm using those caves in my October book. So, and then Comic Den says, Batman Superman is a must-read, fellas. Go do it now. Okay. The new line, did it start with like a number 1 that we should be aware of, or where should we pick it up, man? Comic Den, check out Ace's channel too. He has a cool YouTube channel here talking about the best thing on the planet, which is comics. So, all right, Batman, Superman. It's on a number 1 thing right now, a new series. So apparently, it's pretty good stuff. So I liked the Jay Lee one from a couple years back. It was kind of weird, but it was awesome. So back to what we were talking about, and kind of wrapping towards the end of the conversation, everything. Besides the weather turning and you guys kind of having to pull an audible with going inside, and then just kind of the pressure of who you're hanging out with and commissions and jam pieces. Were there any glaring problems or anything strange or rowdy customers that came in flipping over comic tables or anything
No,
crazy?
not at all. I mean, actually, the cool stuff doesn't stop. I mean, like you kind of interrupted me, and I wasn't able to finish. Another one of my like, I don't know if you use the word connections or like friends I've made like through the comic dealing here in the past year is a guy who like works for, I don't know if you consider that, he's like he's allowed to be the guy who does the CGC grading.
Oh,
Like he like sometimes tables at the con as that guy. If you can come up to his table and he like looks at it and then sends it off to the people, you know.
mm-hmm.
And so he like has a little bit of like a hookup through that. He took 2 copies of my analog missions. And I signed the covers of them. Because apparently you have to have the cover signed if it's going to get sealed up and say it's signed or whatever, obviously. And he's going to get them sealed up though. And like he grabbed 2, hoping they'd be 9.8s to like get them in the like CGC like sealed graded thing.
Oh, very cool. Like offered to like hook you up for free or something?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So pretty stoked about that because like so Rao got it done with his Magnus and he has a couple copies of it with the 9.8 grading on it. And that's just like a little bit of like the inner nerd in me is like that's an awesome piece. Like my first official published comic sealed up in the CGC package and graded kind of thing. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool, man.
But hopefully that continues and I like just every comic I release, I do like a fun thing like that with it. It's like a literal, completely personal, just for me to feel awesome kind of thing. But it's like a rad thing to be able to have that. That's it. Absolutely nothing else happened.
That was everything, huh? So.
No, I really don't think there were any other problems. Like there was obviously the impending, like, I hope we all fit inside this comic shop thing, but like they solved that pretty quickly. And then it was pretty clear that they knew what they were doing and we were good to go. I really can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
Sounds like an awesome time, man.
It was, yeah.
You have to go experience that. I'm glad you guys didn't have any tornado sirens go off or anything.
Yeah, crazy. There was some torrential downpour. It was a good thing we moved inside at one point. Woo! They had to move some of their stuff. Like they still put a couple tents like right out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point they all came running in like, save the comics.
And you're like, I'm so glad I'm inside.
Yeah.
Well, now that the kind of calm after the storm has happened from gearing up for that last week, because that was kind of the only thing on your list was that the show. And so you wild success with that. What do you do this week to kind of get yourself moving again?
Finish pencils of page 3.
All right, let me get this down. David, pencils, page 3. Got it.
Finish pencils of drawing I started at school today.
Pencils on school drawing. Okay.
Demon Slayer.
What does that mean? Oh, that's what the drawing was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's from an anime that I'm super into right now.
Very cool.
I'm gearing up for Inktober now.
Very cool.
The plan for Inktober is pencil a panel more or less a day of the comic, or ink a panel a day. So I'm trying to like pencil out like at least 4 pages because I think that's a good goal to get done through that month.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ink it all. And then I remember that last year as a buffer / break, I penciled a bunch of little 5x7s like these because I can ink these pretty fast once they've been penciled.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remembered that like I did every 3rd post was like a drawing. And so I'm going to buffer a bunch of these over the next couple weeks here too before Inktober gets started.
You should work out like a little just like intro or title sequence. So once in a while, like during the course of the month, if you just throw on the camera and record your inking, you can throw it up on the channel or something.
That is not a bad idea.
I miss your tips in a time lapse, man, honestly.
I do too, and it wasn't like I didn't purposely stop doing that or anything, but like, man, it's time consuming, and I got to find a better flow for that to be able to get those
That's the key,
back up
is
again.
just finding something where like you can, you've already got your beginning. I don't know. What I did was I have a beginning and end and just insert kind of the spots in the middle, and I just changed that.
Oh, it's the sitting down to film it.
Oh, gotcha. Just
Like,
having everything ready and perfect.
It's like, oh, I got an hour here. Oh, but if I want to time lapse this, I got to have like an extra quick 20 to like set up cameras and stuff. And then it's like, all right, set up. Oh, I actually don't have any time to draw anymore. Should I leave that here? Like that kind of stuff was happening to me.
Maybe it's
as
as simple as like on your phone, just like just setting up a live. You're pretty good at live inking and stuff too while you're talking and teaching about I've been thinking about this today.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go live a bunch through Inktober. Yeah, for sure.
Very cool. So for goals for the IRBD aspect of it, do we want to talk? I don't know, like promotion for newsletter sign up or anything on your mind for anything you want to get done as far as that stuff?
I don't know, bro. I mean, obviously that's a good segue into our newsletter. And we talked about at the beginning, I know, but anyway, we can just generally pushing out that building our numbers on our newsletter. It's just like one of those things where it always like I suck at it, and I think I suck at it because I don't realize how powerful it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to utilize it more often, because it's like I post passively. It feels like now that I do this as much, it's like an Instagram post is like a passive, like, please look at it. But like people who have subscribed to a newsletter, we can like narrow it down to the good stuff, like sharing my experience here with like this day,
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody tunes into. I mean, not everyone has an hour to spend watching us be goofy every Monday. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I think I want to start using the newsletter as more of a place to put like what we talk about on these every month.
Mm-hmm.
Like as an update, like, by the way, the things we've been doing. And then like, if you missed it, David hung out at a comic shop for Batman Day.
Yeah, and even like going forward as we have these things, it'll be stuff like David's going to be tabling for Batman Day, so come out and see him.
Right.
Letting people know what we have coming up, because we're going to be releasing this book. We do have this for sale. I mean, honestly, we both have a decent amount of stuff for sale right now, that there could be a newsletter being like, hey, just remind you guys that we have our stores set up and, got that on the website, so come check it out. But yeah, if I think as far as like this week and just pushing the newsletter, because I do think, and we've talked about websites and how often people are actually going to them and stuff like that, but at least having that real estate is a good thing. But I am finding and hearing a lot, and do believe that the newsletter thing, email addresses for people who are interested and willing to give that out, is a pretty important thing for independent artists, and when you build that, and you get a whole bunch of those for, a Kickstarter, to keep in touch with those people, and use something like a newsletter to go, yep, so I'm still around, I'm still making stuff, still thank you for how you supported me. Here's another cool thing I'm putting out there,
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm like the creature of habit, get in my flow and do my thing. And so it's like really hard to like abruptly stop that and put something into like it's like, oh, right, I only do this once every month. I need to sit down. I need to write. I'm the kind of guy who needs to like calendar this out. I need to like literally put a notification to my phone that's like the third Thursday is write the newsletter day kind of thing. So,
and what I'm thinking is like, and like what I'm suggesting, like for this week, is like something I want to do, and if you're doing it as well, I think it'll be beneficial. Is we're trying to bolster this. We made that decision to like bolster the email. So, and we made the decision that we're going to give out a free T-shirt, at least one, maybe two. We'll see how it goes. But just start promoting that. Hey, if you sign up for the October newsletter, if you sign up before the October newsletter comes out, you have a chance to win a free T-shirt. Happy trick or treating. So if we just kind of like on our social media, I mean, even for like your Monday, Wednesday, Friday posts or something, finding ways on the IRBD Facebook or on that or on our stories, just to be like, hey, chance for a free T-shirt, sign up for the newsletter. So I'm putting that down as one of my things to do for IRBD is push the the giveaway, the newsletter giveaway. That's all I'm calling it. So if we just, and that's not requiring us to write it yet or anything like that. It's just to let people know that if they sign up for it, they have a chance to win something cool. So I'm putting that down, and then episode 6 of Read More Comics.
Yeah, you're killing it on that. Like, that's a good. I feel like you've done enough episodes with that too that it's probably a part of your weekly thing now to sit down and like you probably have your day almost that like this is when I make sure Read More Comics happens.
Yeah, for sure. And luckily my schedule's kind of working out so far. What I'd like to do is get ahead of it, and now that I really understand how I'm doing it, just any old time I finish a comic, I can just put on my phone and record 5 minutes of me talking about it, so it's fresh on my mind, and maybe even build up a catalog of them. So all I have to do is take a picture of the 3 I decide to go with for that episode and pull from that library, because I'd like to get ahead of it, because I have been keeping it regular, but it has had to be a focus because of that, which is a good thing to stay regular, but has been a little like I don't want everything I do to be about this, of course,
Right.
But so I'm thinking like simple stuff like if I record ahead, so I have a lot to pull from. So on a hard week, I'm not recording something new. I've already done it. That, and then I'm sort of thinking that like maybe do like 7 episodes, then a week off, 7 episodes, a week off or something. Just, I don't know. I'm really enjoying the keeping religious about, every week, every Wednesday it comes out. Every single Wednesday I've been doing this for only 5, but every single Wednesday it's been coming out on time. So I don't want to like, shy away from that, but I don't know. If I do need to take like a week off every once in a while, it'll probably still be like, to find some music to put with it. Because to improve it, I think I almost need to take a week off to be able to use the time I normally put another episode together into doing something to improve. So I don't know.
Well, maybe you wait till you get to like episode 10 and then it'll be like when episode 11 starts, it's like, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if I did that, I could call it, like season 1, and then do 10 episodes, and then season 2, 10 episodes, and maybe, maybe I like record a little bit of a different intro or something. I don't know, something to think about. I like it. But anyway, so for IRBD, I'm going to do that. Try to do those 2 things, promote signing up for the newsletter, and then the next episode of Read More Comics. As far as the artist side of things, I'd like to start on a next fan art piece that maybe the Batman one. Let's go with that. At least start some pencils and kind of designing the layout for it. So design next fan art. And then for the comic side of stuff, writing is just always a part of it. I'm still kind of figuring out between like free writing and then outlining and then using the note cards. And now I have this thumbnailing thing. A little bit of that. I maybe don't need all of those steps, but I think in doing this, I'm going to kind of figure out what works good for me. So at least for now, writing on the script is always just a part of it. But with that, I would love to, at least on one page, start doing some actual thumbnails. Thumbnailing some of these scenes that I've seen in my head for a while, actually start to, maybe just pick one page and just some thumbnails. So that's what I'm writing down. Hey, David.
What's up?
Who's been your favorite movie Batman?
Favorite movie Batman? Is it
incorporate Adam West because he did have a movie from back then? Is it
offensive to say none of them?
What?
I don't really know if I've enjoyed Batman on the screen yet.
Well, you suck.
Yeah, and I'm not like in a hate it DC sucks kind of way. Just more of like I really don't know if I've gotten like blown away by it yet. You know what I mean?
No.
Batman Begins was rad, but I was not a fan of any of the other parts of that part of that series.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. When I was a very young child is when the Michael Keaton first Batman came out with Jack Nicholson. Yeah. So that movie for me is like one of my faves. And at that time period, you had Batman with very long horns on his cowl. And
I do remember that.
it goes through times of long or short at different times. And for that, I don't know, iteration of it, I think was pretty cool and informed the animated series and all sorts of other stuff. So, yeah, I think that's my favorite movie, Batman.
Yeah, animated series and beyond have always been sort of like the versions of Batman I dug the most into. I don't really, like I said, I'm not saying it in like a stupid Batman or whatever. It's like just like I think I've just always enjoyed the animated versions more.
Yeah, and Batman Beyond, I think, because I am a bit older than you, so the animated series was huge for me, and I love that. But as it moved on and then went into Batman Beyond, I think I was like, too cool for cartoons or whatever at the time.
Yeah.
So that one kind of missed me by, and then that was just kind of like an extra movie thing or something that I found out about later. But yeah, the Tim Burton Batman in the beginning, the animated series, and then honestly the old Adam West Batman. The old Adam West Batman was probably like before any of those others. That was the first thing. That was watching Nick and Night in my grandparents' basement and stuff like that, watching those. So I have a special place in my heart for those Adam West Batmans.
Well, I love that. I can't touch those with the pole at all and say that I had any kind of attachment to those ones because they were
so much fun. And I know that I know they are what they are, and they're super cheesy and campy or this or that, but I love them for it. Like the voices on it and the next time on Batman and all that stuff. I love it. It brings me back to the 60s. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I do love Batman. I love all the independent comics and all this stuff going on. But Batman has always been a fave. I love the Robins. I love the aesthetic. I love the city, the Rogues Gallery. Batman's pretty good stuff. And if making a good silhouette for a character is important in cartooning, I'm not sure if it gets much better than Batman. Maybe Mickey Mouse? I don't know. I think Batman still kicks Mickey Mouse's butt. But anyway, you have anything else for us, David?
I really think that was a good episode. Sums it up. I would like to highlight Ronnie's comment that I'd rather be paying for it. Basically, is what he said for the T-shirts. Should we put that? Maybe we should.
That man, but I mean, hey, if we draw your name, we're not picking them. Everybody that we have, I'm gonna write it out and do it old school. Pick a name in a hat.
Yeah, pick a name from a hat. Can you film yourself picking a name from like a really cheesy top hat or something that you bought from the Salvation Army? You made this face like you already own
the top hats at the Salvation Army.
I was just
a lot of folks with their like classy ballroom dinnerware giving that up to the Salvation Army.
I'm just like, where do I get a goofy hat? I go to the Salvation Army, okay? Like,
dude, I've seen your hats; they're all goofy.
The face you made that was like, I already have one of those. Like,
well, of course I already have one of those. It's not fancy; it's a Halloween one, but yeah, I could do that. We'll film it. Maybe we'll on our I'd Rather Be Motivated episode.
Oh, that's perfect. Actually, yeah, we should do like the last episode of the month or of October, which we should be like, and now, for the first time ever, drawing from a hat.
Drawing from a hat. We'll name the episode Drawing from a Hat.
I'd rather be drawing from a hat.
Oh my gosh. It just keeps getting worse, and this is when we have to exit.
Yeah,
everybody.
We have 7 minutes before the full hour. I can just keep talking over you. I think my mic is better, and they'll hear me better. Ooh, he said Riddler hat. Ronnie with another zinger.
I'm just going to exit out of here. I'm not waiting for a cut. I'm just going to exit. But anyway, what we are talking about is if you're just joining us or left and came back, I don't know. But so for our newsletter, which you can sign up for I'dRatherBeDrawing.com, the newsletter is down below. David and I are what represents I'd Rather Be Drawing to independent artists trying to make a go of making comics. So if you want to see what we're up to and keep up to date of projects that are going on, of places that we're going to be and things that we're doing, sign up for that newsletter. And for the October newsletter, right here on I'd Rather Be Motivated, we've been planning this for months, obviously. We're going to draw a name from a very fancy hat that we get at a thrift store. And whosever name we draw will be a name from our. This is going on way too long. I'm so terrible at explaining and selling stuff. Anyway, you're going to get a free T-shirt if we draw your name if you sign up for our newsletter. Pick any size, any color you want. It's going to have our I'd Rather Be Drawing logo on it. So when you have to go out and do those chores that you just don't want to do, you can let the world know that you'd rather be drawing. But anyway, David, when we're not here making fools of ourselves, where can we find you?
Well, when we're not here making fools of ourselves, you can hop on over to what the kids these days are calling Instagram at Art of Mr. Fleming. And then you can also check me out on my Facebook, where the old people are calling these days. And follow me on that one, friend me, whatever you call it. And then you can check out my MySpace. Oh, no, just kidding.
Your MySpace. For those of you who are visiting from the far past.
Oh my gosh, I saw, speaking of like derailing, but there was the best meme ever that I sent over my wife earlier this week. And it was like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't send faxes from where I live. And it was like, oh, where do you live? 2019. I live in 2019.
Sounds amazing.
And that's how I just feel about some things that happen to me.
I hate memes. They're taking jobs from good cartoonists. I don't know.
Let's have a whole episode about it.
Why I hate memes.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
I hate all of the actor Batmans.
Yes, jeez. All right. I was going to have Michael Keaton on the show next week, but I guess not. Whatever.
Oh, good. Dodge that one.
Dodged a bullet there. Dodged a batarang there. Anyway, so yeah, I'm Scott O Green. I'm the other fool behind I'd Rather Be Drawing. And when I'm not here, you can find me on Instagram at Mr. Green Draws, mr.greendraws, and on Facebook at I'd Rather Be Drawing. So that's me in a very long, hour-long nutshell.
Actually, no hour is longer than any other hour. They're all relatively the same length.
I don't think so. I think when people listen to us talk for an hour, it's a lot longer than other hours.
Yeah, well, I'm hovering my mouse over to the end broadcast.
Thank gosh.
Thanks for hanging out, guys. We will catch you next week. It seems like Monday is the night, but if it's not Monday, you know it's Sunday, and if it's not either one, it's always Scott's fault. End broadcast.